Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's been a long time, I know. You probably missed my voice again, I know. So considering the fact that we've been having too many days off, and we're going to have another day off on Saturday, so we're going to do the theoretical part of chapter 7 on Zoom. If you have any questions related to anything I explained, please make sure to add a comment either here or on Facebook or on Moodle or during the lecture. Now, the chapter is very long and I'm not going to explain all of it in one session. So I'll probably explain it in 2 or 3 sessions. Okay, bring your books. Make sure that you have read the few first 10 pages before you watch the explanation, because I'm going to go through it without marking the, let's say, quotations. So I'm going to explain in general, and I'm hoping that you have read the chapter already. Now, we learned in the previous chapters about translation in general, about interpretation in general. Sorry. Now, this chapter is quite interesting because it mainly speaks about simultaneous interpretation. Let me remind you of what simultaneous interpretation is. It's when the speaker speaks and you interpret at the same time. The time difference between the production of the speaker's speech and yours is split of seconds. Okay, now when we first classify interpretation into degrees of difficulty, most of the students say that, well, simultaneous interpretation is the most difficult. This is both correct and incorrect at the same time. Simultaneous interpretation is not difficult, but it requires more efforts. That's why the author is introducing the effort model of interpreting to us, or effort models, because we're going to talk about different areas that require the interpreter's efforts. So yes, as you can see, that basically what you know about simultaneous interpretation is that it's difficult. But there has been a study about how interpretation done by expert interpreters still had mistakes, errors in interpretation, even though the speech that they were given was clear, even though the speaker did not use, let's say, specialized words or terminology. Still, the interpreters were feeling did not provide, let's say, a 100% perfect interpretation. So the author again tries to explain the possibilities of why this happened. The author excludes the possibility of them not being or not understanding the speaker's speech, because most of them are either fluent, these interpreters who were involved in this research, they were either fluent or natives. So that excludes the possibility of the imperfect interpretation due to insufficient understanding of the language. Another possibility that he mentions is that it could be fatigue. They were too tired to interpret, but again, he excludes this because he says they did not, let's say, interpret for a long time. They were only 10 minutes. So how tired could they have been? Now, what you need to understand as a trainee, as a student who's learning interpretation, is that one of the most natural things in interpretation is that you are not going to provide a 100% accurate interpretation. Okay? So observations of errors made by professionals in speech segments containing no apparent obstacle are intriguing, and trying to understand the reason behind them seemed important, if only in order to help students, to help you understand why interpreting is so difficult and accept that this is a fact of life than as a worrying sign of incompetence. So you're going to make mistakes. I've always told you this since day one. As an interpreter, you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean you're incompetent. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you don't understand the language you're interpreting from. It doesn't mean that you're not good. It simply means that this task is exhausting. It's tiring. It's tiring. It tires the brain. It tires the body. And imagine being in a situation where you have to speak very quickly and you have to, on the spot, find the words, find the language. Sometimes when it is your own idea, you're talking, you're expressing yourself, you're expressing your emotions, which is something that you, from all people, should understand and learn how to express. You know how you feel, you know what you have on your mind, and you still have difficulty finding the right words. So how about you saying the thoughts of someone else in a different language immediately, instantly? See the pressure? And again, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you that it's natural to feel, let's say, worried. It's natural to feel that this is an exhausting task. It is. It is. And I have mentioned this to you during the classes. Sometimes you need to take your own pills because you might have a headache. Again, imagine wearing headsets and the volume is too loud and you have to speak. Oh, even thinking about it makes you feel tired, doesn't it? Well, surely does. Now, listen to this. Interpreting requires some sort of mental energy, which is available in limited supply. I want you to imagine being surrounded by kids. How much time can you be, like, for how long can you be patient? Imagine being surrounded by 6 or 7 kids who are shouting, jumping. Like, I can imagine you feeling, okay, I'm patient. I love kids the first 5, 10 minutes. And by this, I'm being very generous. But at some point, you're going to be like, just stop, leave the room, leave me alone, or you're going to leave. Now imagine that someone's voice is in your head over and over and over for a long time, for 15 to 30 minutes. It's going to consume the mental energy you have. Interpreting takes up almost all of this mental energy and sometimes requires more than is available. And that is when an interpreter's performance deteriorates or becomes lousier, if I'm going to use a colloquial word to describe what happens, not an academic one. Now, imagine again, you're interpreting the first 10 minutes. It's awesome. You're perfect. You're doing everything the way you learned, the way you practiced. Another 5 minutes pass, and yeah, I'm stable. I'm still providing excellent interpretation. But then 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you start feeling tired. And by feeling tired, you your interpretation becomes, I don't want to say worse, but less professional.